Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the casino once again as I talk about our state of the city. I want to start tonight by introducing the other members of our commission who are here tonight. Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell. Vice Mayor Pro Tem Andy Amoroso. If you haven't done so already at the completion of this address, I would love for you to stop by the individual tables that we have set up here around the room and meet the rest of our team, the various department heads and employees of the city who are the heart and soul of our operation. And there's some great information and things to take home with you, and we'd love for you to learn about some of the amazing things that are taking place, and we'd also love your feedback and concerns, because together we can always do more. Last year, when I spoke with you about the state of our beautiful city, I went back in time and talked about our role in advancing it forward in the future. The theme was, our future is bright. This year, for the theme of this address, I dared to use the P word, a word that's been almost banned since the early 2000s, a word that makes every Lake Worth lover cringe when they hear it. You know what that word is? Come on, folks, say it loud and proud. Potential. Potential. That's right. Today, I want us to own it. Yes, that word that our municipal neighbors, the county, the state, and even the tourists that flock to our beautiful beach in downtown have been saying it for decades. If only Lake Worth could recognize its full potential. Well, guess what, folks? We're finally seeing that realization come true, without sacrificing the charm and beauty that inherently exists here, by embracing the arts that organically thrive here, and by remembering that our people always come first. Any of you who follow trends may have noticed a lot of stories and articles about livable cities and why they're so livable. Many cities have started to tout themselves as cities where you can live, work, and play. In its simplest form, these are great things, right? We all want to live, right? Most of us have to work, and many of us love to play. As an elected official, it's our job to try to find the right balance to protect the investments of our citizens, our environment, and our family's future. This year, I want to go back in time, but I only want to go back far enough so that we can see the progress being made in the city. We've been working hard the last few years, and I'd like to talk tonight about some of our accomplishments. While the last few years have been very difficult due to the low property values and loss of revenue from abandoned and foreclosed properties, progress is being made, and some very positive things are happening in Lake Worth, despite our challenges. For example, from 2008 to 2013, the city issued no new private commercial investment or new office permits, with the exception of the Publix, our own casino building, and the water plant. Think about that. How do you sustain a growing city with absolutely no new investment? You don't. Thanks to the streamlining of our sustainability department, last year we issued 425 commercial building permits and collected $250,000 in revenue for just those commercial permits alone. We're grateful to the people who believe in our potential and are interested in being a part of our success story. In fact, we were told that a few people were going to be here tonight. I don't see their faces, but if you've snuck in afterwards, please let me know. But we have a new business in the north end of our fair city. It's a new shop called Mama Jesus. Yeah. Now this shop specializes in homemade Italian specialties like made-from-scratch pastas and homemade mozzarella. My husband thanks you very much for relocating from Green Acres to Lake Worth, and my 8-hour Sunday sauce is going to taste so much better thanks to that investment. Tante grazie. Also, Ernesto Lopez, he's president of AHS, and they recently opened the villages of Lake Worth and have recently broken ground on the villages 2 at Lake Osborne. They're absolutely gorgeous market rentals, complete with granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, and they're already renting quickly. Also with us, Rena Blades from the Cultural Council of Palm Beach County. They deserve our gratitude for having the vision to locate here even before the city invested in itself, because they recognized our amazing potential. We're also grateful they had a large part in bringing us the Ben Zeiten Center that will be a feather in our artistic cap for many years. Now, these are all extraordinary accomplishments, but we must be realistic that they're simply not enough to turn around the economic crisis that nearly devastated our entire community. To realize our full potential, we needed to be brave and take on the hard work that, quite honestly, most politicos don't dare to tackle because they're not pretty, they're never popular, and they don't win elections. I want to thank my commission for making the grown-up decisions that led to real change this year and major accomplishments in Lake Worth. We started out in 2014 by utilizing sweeping changes to our land development regulations and our code of ordinances that had been approved months prior. The new regulations clearly spell out what you can build on your land. No longer is the process subject to arbitrary actions by elected or appointed boards or at the whims of staff. These changes have given us predictable, reasonable, and understandable development rules, which is significant in a city where no new private projects were applied for or received a permit for in a 6-year period. Tonight, I'd like to tell you about some of the new projects we're seeing or will be seeing soon. Melrose Irrigation, which opened in December on Boutwell Road, is a new business that holds the possibility of new jobs which our residents truly need, and added tax revenue of about $5,000 to the city. As I mentioned before, we recently attended the grand opening of the Villages of Lake Worth. It's a new 216-unit apartment complex located at the northwest corner of Lake Worth Road and 2nd Avenue North that'll provide workforce housing, not subsidized housing. The rents start at $1,200 a month and attract teachers, police officers, fire personnel, and working people in all fields. It's my sincere hope that the families that move into this rental community will one day purchase a home here, shop here, dine here, attend our events, and fully invest in our city. There'll soon be a groundbreaking ceremony for the Villages 2 at Lake Osborne, and that's going to be a 118-unit apartment complex located at 2430 Lake Worth Road, and will also provide much-needed workforce housing. When finished, these projects should generate approximately $50,000 in new taxes annually. The Villages of Valor is also a new 104-unit multifamily residential development with a professional office accessory complex located on the north side of 2nd Avenue North along the canal. This is a unique complex that supports veterans and their families, which in itself is an amazing thing. But it also generates an additional $35,000 in tax revenues for the city. Hard Drives had an approved site plan for a 25,000 square foot maintenance facility in our Park of Commerce. Permitting documents are wrapping up, but if the project's built, it'll bring new jobs to the city and add between $15,000 to $20,000 to our tax rolls. On 10th Avenue North, Value Place Hotel is being built and should be ready by December of 2015. Construction has begun on this 4-story hotel, and the taxes generated by this could run around $35,000 a year. And it'll also bring in additional bed taxes and increased sales tax revenue. 2 townhouse communities, Waterville, just north of 10th Avenue North, and Lucente, next to the new Publix on 2nd Avenue, have been approved in January of this year, and these communities being built on once vacant land should generate additional revenue in the coming years, but more importantly, will bring more economic activity onto our streets and our downtown. The owners of the Gulfstream Hotel are investing a lot of money in our city, and I look forward to the day when the renovated Gulfstream and its new restaurant filled with visitors who can't wait to explore the abundance that Lake Worth has to offer. And by now, we're all familiar with the new rental units along 6th Avenue South. The La Jolla Village project took vacant property by the railroad tracks that few thought could be redeveloped and converted it into a beautiful complex that will act as a buffer and provide a nice transition into the surrounding neighborhoods as it transforms the lives of many individuals. It offers an array of public amenities, including an art wall, a history labyrinth, and a splash pad. And the completion of the project will help raise the standards of properties in that area. Our Public Services Department has been able to fund several exciting projects this past year. Capital improvement projects funded for fiscal years 12-13, 13-14, and 14-15 include 14th Avenue North, 15th Avenue North, Crestwood Boulevard, and North F Street. They include water main improvements and an installation of 3,500 feet of new water main, 5,200 feet of sidewalks, 2,500 feet of new roadway, and 11 fire hydrants. 7th Avenue North roadway improvements are from Dixie to Federal and had 3,100 feet of sidewalks installed and 1,500 feet of new roadway. Soon a project will start on 6th Avenue South between Dixie and Federal Highway. The roadway will be milled and resurfaced, sidewalks will be fixed, and a traffic calming device will be installed, as the area has been neglected for a long time with potholes and cracked sidewalks in an area where the children are walking to and from school each day. This past year, Public Services has designated a phone line to report pothole issues. This has resulted in a quicker response to patching the potholes throughout the city. Again, all of these projects were using budgeted capital funds that had not been used in previous years. We will continue to do what we can to secure grant money for numerous projects. That was always the plan. Despite where you stood on the 50-50 debate on the infrastructure bond issue, no one can deny the city neglected our roads for decades and they need to be fixed. If we correct the issues one intersection at a time, shame on us. It'll take us 20 years to fix the streets we've identified, and by then, the roads we started with will need repair again, and the so-called good roads that weren't addressed at all will be in shambles. Contrary to election time fairy tales, it's always the city's desire to find grant monies to cover many of the expenses included in the 2020 roadway improvement plan. Recent trips to Washington, D.C. and Tallahassee were and are all aimed at bringing these funds back to our community. In fact, many of these grants could never have been applied for if we didn't do the research, the planning, the foundational work that actually resulted in the 2020 plan. You can't get money if you don't do that kind of work first. That's been our problem for years. And now we're finally up to speed and ready for the 21st century. Hallelujah. Better late than never, right? Next week, many of my fellow commissioners will join me in Tallahassee to fight for the money to improve our ailing infrastructure and develop areas that will help bring in investment and jobs for people who need it so desperately. Please, keep us in your prayers. Speaking of grant money, our Public Works team has been very busy this year utilizing Community Development Block Grant Funds, or CDBG funds, for Palm Beach County. You see, the city had received and promised to spend $700,000 in grant funds from the county back in 2008, but they never used them. Can you imagine not using $700,000 for our streets? The Commission's vision to improve the lives of all of its citizens gave that grant a purpose and the south end of our city promise by improving the quality of life and public safety needs for the most impoverished in our city that have been ignored for decades. You see, the CDBG grant program uses funds to develop viable urban communities by making changes to the living environment and by expanding economic opportunities, principally for low and moderate income persons. These grants have resulted in a wide range of community development activities directed towards revitalizing neighborhoods, economic development, and providing improved community facilities and services. Now, while the CDBG program's principal intent is to benefit those less fortunate, Activities which aid in the prevention or elimination of slum or blight benefit all of us as a community. On February 17, 2015, we attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for 10th Avenue South from South 8th Street to South F Street. This utility and roadway project funded with CDBG dollars included the installation of 2,050 feet of water main, 1,600 feet of sanitary sewer lines, 750 feet of storm drainage, 6 fire hydrants, 1,120 feet of sidewalks, and 2,500 feet of new roadway. On 9th Avenue South from South E to South F Street, there's a greenway project where 1,170 feet of sidewalks and 58 new trees were installed. On 5th Avenue North, another greenway project from North A Street to North C Street is underway to install 575 feet of sidewalks and 30 new trees. There are additional CDBG projects in design phase for 7th Avenue South from South A to South F Street to construct roadways and sidewalks and install water mains, fire hydrants, plus a greenway space. Also, 11th Avenue South from South A to South H is also in the design phase to get sidewalks and 100 trees. Improvements made with this grant money are shown on a map you can see when you visit the Public Services table. Good job. Now, I mentioned Greenway a lot. I do want to mention that our Greenway projects are already being touted as a cutting-edge and sustainable way to transform struggling neighborhoods. These former third-world, unpaved dirt roadways serve as a reminder of our atrocious past neglect. Our Greenway projects will be used as a model across the country for communities with similar challenges. In fact, this is one of the greenest commissions of all times, as we're working to replace our failing street lighting with efficient LED technology while recognizing dark skies in our plans for fixtures. We're looking to add 2 megawatts of relief to our energy grid with photovoltaic solar panels at our old closed landfill. In fact, we were recently asked to house the county's chapter of the U.S. Green Building Council in our city in return for helping us realize even more green goals that address sea level rise and so much more. All right, let's talk about another kind of green. Money. We must learn to be sustainable in every interpretation of that word. Fiscal sustainability and the ability to cover the cost of our services and operations are paramount. In an article entitled Why Cities Matter in CNN Money magazine, author Amy Rawlins writes, "The heart of urban innovation is a desire to improve the quality of life and economic opportunities for the people living in cities." She goes on to say that technology plays a big part of this, but so is education, housing, land use, job creation, and countless other economic variables that are fundamental to people's lives. We've been trying to be innovative in finding a balance of responsible growth with our greatest challenges being aging infrastructure, low home values, and lack of business development to help bring in jobs. We're working hard to make sure redevelopment and infill in our city add value to Lake Worth. And value, it has added. I recently visited the property appraiser's website and pulled information from several properties around the city. I found one that had a total market value in 2002 of $154,470. In 2014, it's $225,006. Another property market value of $79,000 in 2012, now valued at $122,348. One property valued in 2012 at $369,889 is now valued at $522,098. These are the values from the tax appraiser, so you know they're not actually the values of the properties themselves, but they do indicate that things are getting better, much better. And as for the $0 in new commercial development for 6 years that I mentioned earlier in my speech, in 2014, the city saw almost $100 million in new investment that will add to our tax rolls with millions more on the way. That's what I call potential. Lake Worth is finally trending in the right direction. That's the part that gives me hope. It's not that we want to change what Lake Worth is, a cool and funky city. It's just that we need to change how Lake Worth is buying into the principles of live, work, and play. We just have to realize that all these principles go hand in hand. Speaking of which, Lake Worth is evolving, if you haven't noticed. And in recent years, the population has grown and diversified into a cultural melting pot. Our downtown is improving daily as we create a more livable space for residents and visitors to gather and enjoy. Having an artistic and musical community of residents has certainly added to the fun of the various events held throughout the year. Our evenings on the Avenue, held on the first and third Fridays of the month, has been improving each month. We've raised the production value by bringing in more professional bands, entertainers, and professional help. There are various vendors and food trucks, and the city is finally covering its expenses on these events. Our 4th of July event is one of the best, and I know commissioners will tell you if you don't attend any event, you have to attend the 4th of July event in downtown. Would you all agree? Yes. The various neighborhood associations, the heart of our community, spend months planning and building their rafts, but it only takes about 10 minutes to destroy one of these creations, or get stranded because of a faulty rudder. Right, commissioners? Hundreds of spectators watch participants as they land in the water and accuse each other of cheating. It's as close as we're going to get to the Super Bowl, as we always have someone whose raft is underinflated. This event is so much fun. Well, of course, we all end up at Bryant Park for a day of family fun, topped off with amazing music and a professional fireworks show. Last year's event was a first trial at connecting the downtown businesses to the park, and a good time was had by all. I'd like to see more of that. The city has recently certified courses for various charity runs and walks. We package the services so that the charity can contact us about their event, and then we arrange cones and barricades, police and fire services, and city services all for one price. The Palm Beach Education Foundation held their first ever 5K race this year. This event was so successful for the charity that they declared Lake Worth their new home. The course runs from Bryant Park South on Palmway and South Lakeside to 18th and back along the waterway. Other certified routes will be established throughout the rest of the city. Last week's Streets Painting Festival. What an example of a successful not-for-profit and city partnership, as over 100,000 people attended the event and filled our downtown restaurants and shops with artists and admirers of art for 2 days straight. Even Triolo came to our aid by providing more shuttles from the Triolo station and Palm Beach State College, also to the festival, and they said to us that they bring more people to this event than any other event. Is that something? So of course I have to stick my 2 cents in and say, you know, we're working on getting more east-west connections for us, from the college to our downtown to the beach. Because as you know, we are a must-visit destination. Lake Worth is the only city in the vicinity that has 5 parades a year. The Veterans Parade on Saturday before Veterans Day in November. It's an emotional event ending at the Cultural Plaza with school groups, bands, and various veterans organizations singing patriotic songs. This commission is proud that we brought back that most wonderful parade. Yeah. Our holiday parade, Night to Night, is the only nighttime parade in South Florida. There were 65 groups this past year and 2,000 participants in the parade. It, of course, ended at the Cultural Plaza. The St. Patty's Day Parade is a fun event that's supported by the downtown businesses. This event's from K Street along Lake Avenue, and it's a fun festival for families, and its charitable trust supports the purchase of wheelchairs for youth and children. Pride Fest, organized by Compass, kicks off with a colorful parade down Lake Avenue to Bryant Park. It celebrates the LGBT community, and it has done so much and given so much to our city. And of course, the great raft race on the 4th of July starts with the parade of rafts down Lake Avenue to the Intracoastal. It didn't make it that far. Hey, let's look at some other interesting success stories in our city. The Gulfstream Hotel, I don't know if you heard about this, they were featured on the hit Ghost Adventures TV show. We'll have to wait for the results of that one, right? Newly opened Surrey restaurant won the bar and restaurant battle on True TV. I've been fielding calls from the New York Post and independent writers for various magazines regarding our Lake Worth art scene. And they're calling us, get this, the Soho of the South. In the January 22nd, 2015 edition in the Westchester, New York Guardian, author Richard Levy writes about his experience on his vacation during Lake Worth. He stayed at and gushes about the Mango Inn and all the wonderful restaurants, cafes, boutiques, art galleries, and antique shops in close proximity, and of course our glorious beach. The article is published in New Rochelle, New York, 38 miles away from New York City. So this man knows good food, and he was raving about the food right here in the city of Lake Worth. I'm sure the weather had nothing to do with it. In an international article on Yahoo.com, Harry Chang writes, get this is the quote, "Forget LA and New York. A small city in South Florida is an under-the-radar, up-and-coming hotbed of makers. Miami obviously has a huge art scene. Locals know that Fort Lauderdale does too. But Lake Worth in Palm Beach County is the one to watch. It's a city on the verge." She goes on to talk about all the art-centered businesses here in Lake Worth. She mentions the Ben Zeiken Center, the Armory Art Center located at the Shuffleboard Court Building, the arts-related hub at 1000 Lake Worth Avenue, the Flamingo Clay Studio, Common Grounds Coffee Bar, Propaganda, J Street Music Venue and Lounge, McMahon Art Glass, Artisans on the Avenue, and the Lake Worth Art League. How about that? Yeah. That kind of publicity the city of right? Oh, and finally, I was the annual American Red Cross Designers Show House is showcasing one of our historic 1925 properties known locally as the Birthday Cake Castle at 1 South Fifth Avenue. More than 15 design firms began to decorate the rooms and landscape the exterior already, and it will open for tourists to benefit the Red Cross from March 5th to April 4th. And if you're not familiar with that house, it's a Mediterranean-style house formerly christened La Florentia. It was designed by Sherman Childs, a protege of noted society architect Addison Meisner. With more than 7,000 square feet of interior space, the house got its birthday cake nickname when former owner Upton Close